the easiest way to get more customers is to let everyone play the game, and all of a sudden you have everyone on Steam can play your game. People on Switch can play games. People with PlayStations can play your games. I think it also reflects long-standing truth about the games industry, which is as soon as you made the switch to digital products, it was going to explode.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 85 of the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. I am your host, Chris, joined as always by Pumpkin, who's over there eating breakfast, Baby Girl, who is somewhere around here, and of course, every week we have a special guest. This week's guest is my good friend, Jon Gazda. How are you doing, Jon?
Doing good, hanging in there. How are you?
I'm all right. I am fighting a headache this morning for some reason. I don't know. It works good. I have my campaign kickoff event tonight, and we are in the low 70s, high 60s, sunny. So it's really beautiful, but I don't know if going from mid 40s to 70 is messing with my brain. But we will persevere.
Yeah,
We shall overcome.
it's the time of year where people start getting sick from the weather change.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. When I saw the weather, I was just like, man, you really can't ask for a better weather for my event, which is
Mhm.
good because the place we're holding it at, the inside could hold maybe 20, but it'd feel pretty tight, and so we want to be outside, which I think is awesome. But then I've just gotten bombarded by people texting me. They're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I've got COVID. I've got sick. I got a migraine. Everyone's
Oh
getting
my
sick
gosh.
right now. So it may just be me, two other people in a room. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. I got food for
That's
50
what it
people,
is.
so we'll have plenty to eat. Um,
Hopefully you can get some of that food eaten.
yeah,
That's the big deal.
I'm sure we'll make it work. And baby's gonna be there. I'm bringing baby girl. So yeah, man.
Mm.
So you are a part of the OG game community here in Columbus. Um, you are also a founder of
I'm an
Couch Line
old
Studios.
I'm an old head.
Yeah.
I was there at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. But you are currently in Deutschland. How is that going for you? What are you doing in there? Why don't you tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. I met Chris at the uh what was it? COG meetup
Mm-hmm.
so long ago, years ago in Columbus, Ohio. And at the time, I was looking for a place to use my music composition skills, and Chris just so happened to have a couple projects that needed a composer. Pretty quickly, we hit it off and discovered that there was tons of work to do on the conventions and other parts of the video game and all sorts of stuff. I ended up writing story. I ended up doing some social media stuff, just lots and lots of work to do. And yeah, I think then the pandemic happened.
Mm-hmm. That
is
little
really
thing.
is really what it comes down to, is then the pandemic happened. And in the midst of the pandemic, my wife had lost her job. I lost my job, and my new job was remote work, which was very nice for the pandemic. But as we were in this kind of free flow, we realized that we could go anywhere and really do anything. And that resulted in my wife ending up applying to a photography school in Berlin, Germany, and being accepted. And then we kind of realized, oh, we have to move to Germany in 3 months, which was very stressful. I don't recommend it.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine. Yeah.
And yeah, then I was working remotely while she was um, going to school, and we uh, decided to stay in Berlin and look for a job for her, which we eventually did find. All the while, I was still working remotely, but starting to integrate myself into the Berlin scene. And uh, the nice part about that, especially, was uh, being so remote based, I had pretty flexible hours with my work. And that allowed me to stay in touch with lots of people in the States. Even when I didn't know anybody in Berlin, I mean, it's a very big city, lots going on, and it's hard to kind of find your footing. And I was able to continue working on video game projects with people. Now, the stuff that you're working on is more in person, and you have your own space that you use, or at least you did when I was there. I don't know
Yeah,
what
we
the
did. We
current
don't
situation.
anymore.
That was a good space though.
I know. I know.
Yeah, but I was able to get together a group of friends, and we decided we wanted to make a video game online only. And of course, it started during the pandemic. So, of course, online only was the only way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But after I moved to Germany, online only kind of saved me because now I had this project that I could work on with my friends and not have to lose track of people or, fall off the video game dev wagon. And yeah, as the project went on, I realized that I had a predilection and aptitude for project management as well. And so I took over the project lead position for our game and learned a ton, which I'd be happy to talk about. But eventually, we got our game out there. We got our first project done, and it's a very short dating simulator called Dream and Sugar. It takes place in a coffee shop, of course, with that title. And despite it being a short game with very minimal assets and uh, story, it took us a long time, and we learned a ton doing it. And now we're starting to work on our next project, and I'm continuing to help wherever I can. I kind of became the do everything that's not being done person, which I'm sure you understand.
Yeah. All
And
too well.
yes, and in the midst of it, still helping out not just with music writing, but also with passing on the position of music writing to people who wanted to learn more and experience more and kind of guide them through the process of start to finish what is required for writing music for video games and how do you incorporate it into the rest of the workflow, that sort of thing. But yeah, we did it.
Nice.
We released our first game, and so I'm trying to take a little bit of a backseat on this one, let other people step up and do the things that uh, lead the project and create the music and work on the social media side of things. But still trying to guide people and stay involved in the video game development sphere, and maybe even find new projects to work on. That's something I've been thinking about lately.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. I mean, getting any project to completion is a big deal. And particularly when you're doing
Absolutely.
remote stuff and people are all over the place and just coordinating
Yeah.
all that is challenging. So yeah, congrats. That's exciting. So are you involved in any of the
Thank
like
you.
game industry stuff locally in Germany? I know that there is a pretty big contingent of like a pretty big dev scene, and Gamescom was just in Cologne a couple of months ago.
hmm I've only recently started to integrate and explore that. Haven't been to a big convention yet, but I've been talking to people in the space and starting to get a feel for what's happening here. Obviously, when you're in the middle of a huge project, it's hard to think about anything else. But
Hmm.
now that the game's out, I've been putting my feelers out and seeing what's going on in Germany. And there's some cool stuff happening. It's kind of fascinating though. Obviously, the technology is still very much up to date, and uh, everybody's working in Unity, everybody's working in Unreal, everybody's communicating through Discord. The technology is there, but in a lot of ways, it feels like um, the the pace of development happens a little slower over here, where you get games that take years to come out. You get companies that spend a long time in between releases. Um, there's a lot more regulations around things like gambling in games or quality of games or like age accessibility of games. And also, you have a gaming scene that is a little bit more, especially in Germany, focused on kind of board game principles where you're thinking about strategy, you're thinking about complexity, and maybe not so much shooting your friends in the face, which, it feels like a lot of the American gaming scene is very fast and very iterative. Uh, we have Call of Duty. Here's Call of Duty Black Ops. Here's Call of Duty 2, 3, 4, whatever. Um, and it feels like companies are a little bit more willing to go in on new IPs. And I'm not sure if that's more of the culture where people are more invested in individual companies rather than individual games or a game experience,
Hmm.
or if there's just more support for art and uh, independent studios here. And so they feel more free to pursue things that interest them as opposed to capitalizing on an intellectual property that already exists.
Yeah, I did a podcast the other day. It should be up on YouTube here soon. With I don't know if you know who Colin Moriarty is, but he used to work at IGN and was a founding member of Kind of Funny. And we ended up talking about video games for a bit as a part of kind of the politics talk. And we kind of hit at some of those things where it's just in the U.S. We were talking about in terms of Canada and how Canada supports the games industry as an art form, but the U.S. doesn't really. And so traditional like funding mechanisms, grants, that kind of stuff, it's just not available generally in the U.S. And so it makes it very hard to
Yeah.
spin up anything. As you know, we've been trying to do this for 15 years now, and
Mhm.
it is challenging without any kind of support where you just have to sort of build yourself from scratch. But yeah, I'm glad that you're starting to branch out a little bit, starting to see a different side of game dev. You should try to make it to a Gamescom sometime if you want to be surrounded by
I
400,000 people.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. I have been going to conventions when I get the chance, but it seems like every time I go, I just end up sick afterwards.
Hmm.
So I gotta plan to go to Gamescom and then take an extra couple weeks off afterwards
Yeah.
just to recover.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how you could go to some place where there's 400,000 people from across the world shoved into a building and not
Oh my
get
gosh.
sick. Like, it's just going to happen.
Hmm.
And that's, well,
Yeah.
I don't know where, yeah, how far is Berlin from Cologne?
It's
It
a it's a
is,
it's a bit,
yeah, it's a six
but
and a half hour drive. Okay.
that's the thing is all of Germany is just a little bit bigger than Ohio, and maybe you know, in the States, you might think like, oh, 6 hour drive. It's doable. Here in Germany, like 6 hour drive, I'll have to take a week off for that. Are you kidding me?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys have
Mhm.
you have trains over there and stuff too, which Ohio doesn't
Right.
really have. So
Yeah, I don't even have a car, but I do have a train pass that will pretty much get me anywhere I want to go.
nice. All right,
Yeah,
let's grab a couple interesting articles for us to chat about, and
I love that. Yeah.
we can get kicking. So let me grab this first article here. What do you want, babes? Sorry, well, I don't know what she's yelling about, but okay. Do Safari. Okay, got it. All right, so this first one is from GamesIndustry.biz, Sophie McAvoy. Switch 2 reaches
Mhm.
highest global sales of any Nintendo platform in the first 4 months of launch. During a briefing held after the platform holders' latest financial results, Nintendo president also revealed that sales of Switch 2 are growing at the fastest rate in the history of its dedicated video game platforms. Sales of the Switch 2 reached 10.36 million units during the first 4 months. So that seems like the Switch
Wow.
is selling like gangbusters. I think there was concern. I know there's some people that thought that the Switch 2 was too expensive for some of the tech that you got in it. But it seems like
Mhm.
Nintendo is continuing its tradition of having a super successful console. Do you have a Switch 2 or a Switch?
We got it. We got the Switch a while back, and we've been holding off on the Switch 2 for the price. But I think, Nintendo has the secret formula, which is beloved IPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a system where that's an exclusive, you can only get Pokemon on the Switch 2. You can only get Mario on the Switch 2. People are going to end up buying your console because they want to be involved in the community around the game, right?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting too because we've had last week we talked about Xbox is pretty much, I won't say
Yeah.
entirely, but they're pretty much getting rid of their exclusives and they're putting their games on every platform. So I guess Xbox has realized that their exclusives aren't enough to sell units or whatever. PlayStation has been
Hmm.
moving some of their games to like Steam, usually not like day and date of release. It's usually like a year or something after release they'll move it. But first time we've really seen PlayStation kind of do that. But Nintendo's not really doing
I'm,
that.
I'm,
Nintendo's
yeah.
sticking to its guns.
I'm crossing my fingers for Bloodborne on the PC.
Oh,
That's my dream. That's my wet well.
okay, okay. Yeah, I would love there to be a Bloodborne 2.
Yeah. That'd be amazing.
Um,
But yeah, it definitely, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Um, with the Xbox unit sales maybe not justifying the exclusivity, Microsoft is saying, well, the easiest way to get more customers is to let everyone play the game, and all of a sudden you have everyone on Steam can play your game. People on Switch can play games. People with PlayStations can play your games,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it also reflects kind of a long-standing truth about the games industry, which is that uh, the games industry, as soon as you made the switch to digital products, it was going to explode, right? Because all of a sudden you have, a single unit of software that you're copying to millions of people and getting money for each time you copy it. Um, I don't think it's surprising that, these days you have the PlayStation Store, the Epic Store, the Microsoft Games Pass, because the cost of redistributing this software is so cheap that, you know, just let everyone have it. I think that uh, Sony is also starting to realize this, and maybe the PlayStation once was a easy way to play games exclusively. Nothing is really an exclusive gaming device anymore, except the things that Nintendo puts out. And
Yeah, yeah.
maybe Nintendo's long-term strategy is still to say, we're going to use our console innovation to make sure that our devices are more about the gameplay than any other devices. And honestly, the Switch is a great example of that. The Switch is pretty much the device that has all of Nintendo's innovations in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're talking about motion sensing controllers, detachable controllers, portability. You're talking about, staying up to date with, modern graphics demands. And it would take some incredible innovation to push a pure gaming device beyond what the Switch is, which is part of why I think the Switch 2 was just a minor upgrade in comparison, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
sure, sure.
Nobody's looking at the Xbox One and saying, "Oh, it's just a minor upgrade in comparison to the Xbox 360," right? No, it's bringing the system up to the modern gaming level, up to the demands of modern games. And the Switch 2 is doing the same thing, but that's not what Nintendo has been known for. Nintendo has been known for creating devices that let you approach gaming in a new way. And if the Switch 2 is their admission that maybe this is the best solid like soul gaming device that we're going to get, maybe they will start
Yeah,
to realize that they can't keep pushing it in the same way that PlayStation and Xbox have kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say been surpassed by PC gaming, but certainly PC gaming has proven to be a stronger competitor for those devices than they probably expected when they started.
sure. Yeah, I mean the Xbox and PlayStation tend to be fighting their own war in terms of like
Yeah.
performance and graphical capability and stuff. Whereas Nintendo, if you take even the Switch 2 against the PS5 or a PS5 Pro, it's just not nearly as powerful. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's a mobile device. Like you're just not going to be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
build in.
Absolutely.
The PlayStation 5 is like this big, right? Like you're not going to be able to cram all that tech into a mobile device. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know if well, so I did my class yesterday. We talked about controllers, and we talked about how Nintendo has been like the most important company in terms of designing a modern control scheme. And it pretty much like every controller nowadays
Absolutely.
is really just a kind of a reiteration of the Super Nintendo controller. And yeah, we added
Mhm.
some analog sticks, and PlayStation, Xbox added extra L and R buttons, but pretty much that sort of faceplate as we think about controllers has been more or less started by Nintendo. And I think that they've kind of gotten to a point, like you said, they've all the tech that they've wanted to do, the motion controllers and all that. I mean, you could probably make them more accurate over time with new technology, but like motion control is just motion control, right? Like you move your hands around and it sees what you're doing and that's it. Like you can
Yeah.
make it more
Yeah.
accurate, but you can't really innovate more on that. And so I think Nintendo is kind of, particularly with the sales of the Switch too, you can't argue they've found their sweet spot for sure.
Hmm.
And so my question is always, if Xbox, maybe I don't know what you want to do. Want to get down? If Xbox decides to sort of leave the console space in the way that some people are predicting, then you've got PlayStation and you've got Nintendo, and they're both kind of playing different games. You know, to your point about the like game device, like I got a PS5 Pro, and if you look at the number of hours that thing is used for, gaming is actually a pretty small percentage of it. It's watching Netflix, watching YouTube, listening to music. That's what I spend,
Yeah.
because I have that connected to my main TV. That's what I spend time on my PlayStation 5 doing. You know, maybe I'll play maybe an hour or two of games a day. Sometimes I probably average, if I'm not super busy, which doesn't happen very often these days, I might play
Right.
8 hours a week, something like that. And so busier weeks, it would be less than that. Uh, but it's sort of like an all around entertainment device for me. Whereas the
Hmm.
I know the Nintendo Switch has the ability to, watch content and stuff, but it doesn't. It's not its strong suit, we'll say.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say that people our age are the target market, but
Yeah.
I do think that even with younger generations, the smartphone has set such a precedent as the device where everything happens.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I mean, mobile games are also incredibly popular.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. The iPhone.
having a device,
The iPhone is
yeah,
arguably the largest gaming ecosystem in the world. So.
absolutely. Having a device that only does one thing is, I'd say it's an investment, right? It's it's an investment in saying I'm going to be spending a lot of time just gaming. And maybe maybe I'm sure there are people who are doing that, but when your Switch is competing for time with your computer and time with your phone, and if you have a TV or whatever, then it becomes a little harder to justify paying so much for just that in a device.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Now, the counter argument, and this is my boomer side coming out,
Okay.
is
Boom me.
I actually boom it. I actually really like single use devices. I recently purchased a typewriter, and honestly, it's great. I like having the ability to print something without having to have internet access or be distracted by YouTube or even, you know, pick which word processor I want to use,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It maybe it takes a little bit more time and it takes a little bit more maintenance, but having a single use device is it's helpful to me. when I want to focus on something.
Okay.
I think the dichotomy here though is that usually when I want to play a video game, I'm not necessarily thinking about like this is my time to focus on my work. It's more like I don't want to think about anything for a little while. And yeah,
Yeah.
maybe having a PC where I can play a game on one screen and have a video on the other screen is a much better solution for that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also listen to a lot of podcasts when I play games on like our Switch. So
Yeah. I mean,
maybe that's just
no.
undiagnosed ADHD, but
Well, I think we're all kind of broken. I say this before, like I think again, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a psychologist, but I do firmly believe that a significant amount of the just sort of whether it's ADHD or distraction or whatever is just the result of us living under the constant bombardment of noise and information, and like our brains are not built to handle this, and we're just getting slammed all the time with information and noise and stuff. And so it's no wonder that like we're all kind of exhausted and we're all feeling like distracted. Plus, you add in life stress and political stress and all that stuff, and
yeah,
yeah, we're
there's so
just we're,
much
we're just human
happening.
animals, right?
Yep.
And I agree. Like one of the reasons I play on my PS5 is because when I play a game, I want to sit down and play a game. I don't want to be updating my OS. I don't want to be downloading new drivers. I don't want to be getting constant notifications from my mail app or whatever. I just want to be able to play my game. And I
Mhm.
bought a Kindle a couple of years ago, and I haven't been reading as much as I want, but the Kindle has really changed how I read. I do miss books. I miss books and holding books, but just being able to have this little thing that I can carry around with me wherever, and it's pop out. I'm trying to get better at bringing it with me so that instead of just resorting to pulling up my phone, I can open the Kindle and read for a little bit. But yeah, I think we're entering. Excuse me, we're entering into a very interesting time in the video game space because a lot of stuff is changing. A lot of stuff that people thought was just ingrained into the system is starting to change, and it's really interesting. So let me pull up this article too. This is kind of in line. This is not a surprise, but this is also gamesindustry.biz. 72% of devs believe Steam has a monopoly on PC games. More than half the developers feel they rely too heavily on Steam to distribute the games, with 72% believing the platform has a monopoly on the PC gaming market. What are your thoughts on that? That seems pretty. That actually kind of seems a little low
Ooh.
to me, but
Yeah. Well, as someone who has put a recently released game onto both Steam and itch.io, um,
do you want to say what your game
I
is
can,
so people can find it?
yeah, of course. I think Tom posted a link somewhere. I'm not sure where you announced this, but yeah, I can say we recently put our game out on itch.io and Steam. It's called Dream and Sugar, which is a dating simulator set in a coffee shop. And the idea that inspired the game is just that so many dating simulators these days glorify toxic and even abusive relationships. And we wanted to make a dating sim where you can go through a story and make a connection to a character and not have to worry if they're going to put you in a cage or slap you for being sassy at them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the otome dating game scene where you play as a female protagonist and court male love interests. Um, this sort of stuff is all over the place, and it's really sad to see it normalized. So we decided to make our own dating simulator that was very wholesome and very, um, we tried to make it heartfelt and meaningful. And we came up with the idea of a little coffee shop where people cross paths and uh, end up falling in love.
All right, nice. Well, I'll put some links to it in the description for the YouTube video when it goes out, so people can uh, check it out.
Thank you.
Uh,
But yeah, I having put a game up on Steam and itch, I can tell you for certain that um, a majority of our downloads are through Steam, and it's not even close. Um,
I would
in
imagine,
the
yeah,
in the magnitude of thousands. It's like, you know, you can say that there are other platforms, you can say that there are other competitors in the space, like the Epic Games Store, but the fact of the matter is, nobody has the amount of eyes on products as Steam. And especially for small developers, you know, the only way that you have a chance at appealing to someone on social media or a YouTuber or an influencer and, you know, finding new communities to expose your game to, you just don't really have a choice. You know, we started on itch.io because we weren't sure about the process of getting onto Steam, but eventually we realized that Steam had to happen. And it was a really long and complex process to get approved as developers, to get the game functional and integrated into Steam, to uh, you know, make sure that our Steam page was up to snuff. We had so many headaches with, you know, Steam's image requirements and Steam's achievement requirements, and I I think only recently we released a patch for the game that finally fixed the last few achievements because Steam just wasn't recognizing when they happened in the game. So it was a huge headache to include Steam as a release platform. And yet, that's where people find the game.
yeah,
That's where we've had people, you know, upload screenshots and make comments and share their experiences, post reviews, post guides. People have made guides to our little game, and it's really touching to see. And you know, on itch.io, we get a couple a couple hits now and then,
yeah,
and that's about it. So
yeah,
from my experience, from a like totally fresh studio indie developer, yeah, Steam is absolutely where PC gaming happens, and I'm not surprised that people consider them to be a monopoly.
sure. Yeah, I noticed you've got the game up on Steam for free. Did you guys talk about monetizing it and just decide to do a free release?
We decided to do a free release mostly because um, as a new studio, we wanted people to find us more than we wanted to ask them for money. And in the Otome game space, uh, our game is pretty small. Our game is a few hours of playtime.
Okay.
And uh, that's in the free range for dating simulators. Obviously, we could have written a lot more, padded out the story, added more scenes, more interactive elements, maybe added some uh, spicy scenes, and lost the wholesomeness, but maybe earned ourselves uh, some money. But um, we decided to hold back, and we've been talking about potential paths for monetization. Uh, it maybe there's an opportunity in the future for us to make some more enhanced content for the game and release it not as a free upgrade, but as a paid DLC. We've talked about potentially um, creating kind of like a pay what you want system, but for Steam, because right now we do have it as pay what you want on itch.io. It's not strictly an option for Steam, but many developers do have like a DLC option that maybe unlocks some cosmetics, but is really there to support the developers. Um,
Okay,
but
that works.
yeah, I would say pretty early on in the process, we had a very interesting conversation among the group, kind of saying, what's our goal here? And um, obviously, it's the dream to have a game where everything goes right and you release it to critical acclaim. It makes a huge splash. Somebody big sees your game, picks it up, plays it on stream. All of a sudden, everyone's talking about it. That's ideal, but um,
It is unlikely.
it seemed it is unlikely, and it seemed like, for me at least, as obviously I've been there since the beginning. I was the project lead on Dream and Sugar. I really had to have a hard conversation with myself. Like, when I say, this game needs an artist to be released, what am I offering that person? What am I saying? Like, come to the table, we'll give you, and in return, you give us hours and hours of artistic work,
Hmm.
right? And I can't really say, oh, there's a dream of a chance that someday you'll be famous, right? Um, and so pretty early on in the process, we kind of came to the same conclusion that I think you came to with the I don't know, Multivarious, the video game company in Columbus,
Hmm.
which is that we are more of a community of developers trying to help each other on our own journeys. And like you said near the beginning of the conversation, finishing something is a big deal. Putting something up on Steam is a big hassle and a big accomplishment. And if we can come together and create this project and say to each other, now this is on all of our resumes.
Hmm.
that's a that's like a tangible thing that
Sure.
you can say to someone. And we've had members of Couchline who go on to get professional work in their fields. We've had members of Couchline who are accepted to schools and internships because of the work that they've done with us. We've filled out everyone's portfolio, that's for sure. And honestly, I think that it's the kind of group where we are happy when people go on to do bigger things, when people leave to do bigger things, because that's the real goal. Um, you know, I don't think that I think that indie development these days, in the way the market is so saturated, um, it's really something you have to do because you love it. It's really something you have to do
Yeah.
because you believe in it. And making money and becoming famous and being the next indie darling, it's it's something that is akin to winning the lottery, right? It's it's like you know, you go to your day job every day, and one day, you find a Willy Wonka golden ticket in the parking lot on your way out from work, right? That's what it feels like. It feels like a totally random thing that could happen.
Yeah,
But
yeah. We
when
we
it
did.
comes to the reason, yeah, when it comes to the reason you're actually going to work, you need more of a reason to do it. And I think that um, helping people finish a game together is a realistic goal for an indie studio, especially because video games are a unique medium in that you can't just finish a video game with only one skill set, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And yes, there are people out there who take the time over years and years to master every skill set that's required and put together incredible indie video games all by themselves. But there are also many more people who just want to do that one thing. And I think that Couchline is successful not because we put up a game on Steam or because, anyone has heard of our game or because we've made uh, so much money, but because we've helped people take that next step, right? And we've helped people finish a video game. And now we can all say we've finished a video game, and that's really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I think particularly in the early days, just getting stuff out there is important, and also being able to build that team dynamic and stability is super important.
Yeah,
Like that's
absolutely. Absolutely.
I've helped hundreds of studios kind of get started and grow and work on their projects, and that's in the internal team dynamics, like getting the studio to work well together is, I mean, literally the most important thing. It's more important, I think, than money, or a good idea. Because if you can't work
100%.
together in a creative environment, if you can't support each other and help, because game development is tough, and there's going to be some times where you're all
Yeah.
just like, "F this, I don't want to do this anymore," and you're gonna have to help support each other
Oh,
and get through it. Um,
yeah, we had it's always the tail end of the project, the grind, the cleanup phase,
hmm
right?
Yeah,
We had a solid year of just that, and oh, it was a true test of the bonds that formed the team more than anyone's skill, more than any one problem that we overcame. It was a test of us.
yeah, yeah. That last 10% it's a lot, and then you're bug
Mhm.
fixing and you're polishing, and then like sometimes the team will be like, I think we can make this feature better, but if we do anything, we have to like undo all these other systems and then reconnect them again, and it may not work properly, and so you have to really decide if it's worth it or not. And
Absolutely.
you're inevitably going to break something, because that's just how game development works. Uh, and it's a challenge. And so yeah, I think getting the game out there, being able to build a team that can now work on another project if you so choose, or keep showcasing at things like GDEX, is also
Yeah.
important. And just getting feedback, letting people know that it is possible to do it. We'll say, um,
Yeah, I heard someone say every single video game is a miracle,
mhm.
and that is so true.
Yeah, it's a very common phrase.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that absolutely kind of leads me into what I've been doing recently, which is taking a back seat. And we had someone on the team who was interested in taking on the mantle of project lead. And so now I'm kind of in the position of having done this before, having seen a project all the way through to completion, coaching someone and leading them through kind of the stages of development and the stages of personal development. Because, everyone's leading and teamwork style is different. So this person's got a whole different thing going on, and I'm trying to share what I know while also making sure that they're developing their own voice and their own style. And the same is true with the music, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
partially way through Dream and Sugar, we had people coming on the team that said, I really want to do the music. And I got my start doing music, but I had to kind of step back and say, well, you know what? I've already got a lot on my plate with this project leadership thing going on. It's time for me to say, I need to teach this person what it means to write video game music, you know, different things to think about, both from a music composition perspective, but also from like a teamwork and integration perspective. You know, uh, it's it's such an incredibly involved process, but the more experience we get under our belt, the more we can offer people who want to join the studio or join a project just by saying, we've done this before, we can help you do it again. And that's actually, you know, extremely valuable. Maybe
Yeah.
even more than having a best-selling game or a AAA game or even an indie darling game, right? Because everybody is at their own point in the journey to becoming the best version of themselves.
Sure.
And yeah, some people just need like a space where they can test things and play and experiment for a little while and eventually go on to do something else. But while they're here in our little indie studio, they can throw ideas at the wall. We have people who can give feedback. We have people who've done it before, and we're not claiming to be professionals, but we
You've
we're
learned a few
one step
things.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're one step on the journey, right?
And while they're in your warm embrace, you can help them along.
Yes.
Yeah,
And they can help us.
yeah, totally. I think that I mean, having money is good. Being able to pay rent and eat food is good. But
Tell me about it.
video game development, video game development's supposed to be fun, even though it's hard, and it's supposed to be creative and giving you a place to try ideas and think through concepts. And I think that this is something, the larger thing that I do kind of miss about like the larger world that's going on, kind of like politically and stuff, is you do have to give people patience and grace and some space to just make mistakes or try new things or not say things the right way, quote unquote.
Oh,
Just give them
yeah,
an
for sure.
opportunity. Now, there's a difference. Obviously, I'm not talking about like, you know, high political stuff where you're talking about cruelty and lies and all that. But I'm just like you said, we're all going through this journey together. And a lot of us are starting in different places and we're coming from different places. And when you're in a creative endeavor, you've got to give it space. And this is one of the things I just hate about. Here, stupid. I hate about, like, I watch a lot of movies, but like video game critiques, movie critiques, a lot of it's just this like, this thing sucks, it's garbage, I don't like it. But like, there's no thoughtful critiquing on it, right? There's no just like, oh, this could be kind of cool. And I've just started playing the Outer Worlds 2, and I've noticed some of that, but I've also noticed a lot of like really thoughtful critiquing, because the Outer Worlds 2 is actually like, what some of the stuff that it does really, really well. It just, some of the other things you're just like, oh, it's so close to being like amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like everybody is watching Obsidian go through the process itself of learning and creating a foundation and doing better themselves. And I think that's a really
Mm.
exciting, particularly in creative endeavors. Like, that's the whole point of art, is we're trying stuff, we're creating emotional experiences, we're thinking through the human experience, and we're not always going to land on both feet. Sometimes things just aren't going to hit right, but at least we're trying. And I'd rather live in a world where people are trying new, weird, creative stuff than not.
Absolutely. And I've actually been thinking about that in recent weeks because of Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Hmm.
A game very different than Hollow Knight, but trying new things and not all of them working as well as they did in Hollow Knight. But I'd rather see Silksong, full of new ideas that maybe work, maybe don't, than just Hollow Knight 2 but bigger, right? Or Hollow Knight
Yeah,
2 but
totally.
now you have a dog, right?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I'm willing to give movies and games and stuff a little bit of a cushion if they're trying to do something unique and interesting, even if it doesn't quite land.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sweet, John. I think we've come to the end of our time here. So this has been episode 85 of the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. John, thank you so much for being here. Really enjoyed talking to you. We'll have to have you on the show some more.
I would love that. And it's a great time for the podcast to end because it's 5 o'clock in Germany, and that means I need to go drink a beer or something.
Oh, there you go. You can clock
I'm
out
trying
with
to.
your
I'm
punch
trying.
card.
Yeah, I'm trying to integrate. Gotta
Nice.
drink a beer, eat a pretzel, have a schnitzel.
Oh man, that sounds great. I would do all of those things. I'm probably gonna have a drink or two tonight at my kickoff party, so I'll drink a beer in your honor. But yeah, this has
Excellent.
been episode 85. Reminder: we do this every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on Twitch, and then we post the video on our Sandbox.Space YouTube. And then, of course, we've got some GDEX information coming up here. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, we're still trying to do a couple things behind the scenes, but we want to start getting cooking early for GDEX 2026. But until then, this has been episode 85 on behalf of Baby, Pumpkin, everyone in the chat, our special guest John, and myself. I want to thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.